So looking, yeah. Hello everyone and welcome to our fundraising event and panel discussion themed Intercontinentally Empowering Education with the World Literacy Foundation. I am Jasveen and I will be the moderator for today's event. Today we are honored to have a panel discussion with our three esteemed guests, Ms. Maria Rojas, Amanda Lowe and Nicola Miranda, who will be discussing the issues and the inner workings of the World Literacy Foundation in empowering education. Before I start, I would like to alert everyone that donations can be made through the link that I have posted out in the chat box, which you can also find in the Facebook post. So I do urge everyone to take this opportunity to donate and possibly break the chain of poverty. Moving on to today's event, I'd like to briefly introduce our panelists for the day, starting off with Maria Rojas. Ms. Maria Rojas is an accomplished program manager at Sunworks. She focuses on literacy in off-the-grid locations. In this role, she leads the project development in 5 African countries, supporting, training, and overseeing a team of leaders and volunteers. Her most exciting work to date was creating content and educational resources with the support of the communities that has generated enormous interest and empowered teachers and students. As for our second and third panelists of today, we have Amanda Lowe and Nicola Miranda, who both completed their Bachelor of Applied Public Health and are currently in position with WLF as the program coordinators. Nicola has always had a passion for promoting and improving the overall health of an individual or a community, and has impressive past experiences with the Rotary District 9800, where she assisted vulnerable and disadvantaged groups. On the other hand, our third panelist, Amanda Lowe, was heavily involved in the volunteering from her parents' example growing up, and always wanted to work in the social sector. She organized information systems that would improve the understanding of the Australian system, such as the tax and the healthcare systems, so that newly settling migrants and refugees can settle easily into the country. In today's session, we will be exploring the World Literacy Foundation and its influence in education intercontinentally. The event will last for about an hour and a half. Your microphones have been disabled to avoid any disruptions during the panel discussion. Should you have any questions during the panel discussion, please type in your questions in the chat box, where I will address it at the end of the event during the Q&A session. To begin today's session, I would like to ask our fellow panelists, what is the World Literacy Foundation all about, and why should more people know about the NGO? We could start off with Maria, followed by Nicola and Amanda.
Thank you so much, Jasveen. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the participants and the girls who are organizing this event today. We're very glad to be part of this, and we would like to transmit this message to many children and youth who are very committed to these issues, social issues. So the World Literacy Foundation is an NGO which is based in Australia, but we have like different locations around the world. We focus on literacy. That's our main objective, to eradicate illiteracy in children, youth, and adults. And mainly we have been working for the last more than 10 years, working on with the commitment to overcome this issue, and with the main goal to also engage the communities on that pursuit.
Nice.
Yeah, so just to add on, so the World Literacy Foundation, it aims to eradicate illiteracy by 2040, and World Literacy Foundation focuses on early intervention, which is very important because through child literacy will you be able to improve your health overall as you get older. And I guess the main goal is to eradicate illiteracy around the world. Despite where you're from geographically, they're able to have the education because everyone has the right to it. So that shouldn't hinder themselves from reaching their fullest potential. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's not just about reading and writing and in terms of literacy. It's to help people reach their full potentials, work through social disparities, give people more opportunities for their future. And yeah, and the numbers for illiteracy rates in the world are pretty concerning. I think over 750 million adults are not literate, and for World Literacy Foundation, we don't want to settle for those statistics, so we have to do something to raise people out of these situations. And I think as well, we try to get people on board with our message. It's not just about us providing resources, but we try to raise up leaders as well that, who are able to advocate for our cause.
Yeah, that was nice. So moving on to my next question. What are the goals and expectations of the organization in the near future?
I'm going to start with that one. So our expectations is to keep bringing more community and to raise this awareness in terms of literacy in different continents. And as Nicole mentioned, we have some specific goals in terms of 2030 and the sustainable goals, sustainable development goals, and like working also together with UNESCO and different international organizations who are committed to education in the future. So like one of the focus is to work on these communities and where it's more needed. We have learned that illiteracy is not an issue that occurs not only in undeveloped countries, but also in developed countries like in Australia, in the United States, in the UK. So it's an issue that it's happening all around the world and in different ages. So like our focus and our goal is to address this in let's say holistic view, holistic perspective, and in different countries as well. So we expect to keep growing this network and this community that started, and ideally to bring these different leaders who can support from the local communities illiteracy. So it's like thinking globally but acting locally.
Wow, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she really did. Maria covered a lot of what I was actually going to say, but I think the long goal that shouldn't really end in World Literacy Foundation or anywhere really is to extend the reach of the importance of literacy. I think that's a lifelong goal that shouldn't stop because, you know, there's so many communities out there, like Maria said, that even though like countries such as Australia, UK, and the USA, there's still vulnerable communities that are, you know, being missed out on with the opportunities. So I think that's a really key focus that World Literacy Foundation has for the future. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess if I had to add any more, I know when I was helping out as an intern in the Australian projects, we also try to help. Our goal to help parents be able to promote that in their own homes, provide them with books and instructions and tips on how to really bring up their children in a literacy-rich environment and what the benefits of those are. So trying to target different groups so that children all around the world are able to access literacy resources.
That's amazing. You guys are doing so much. It inspires me. So from what you guys just mentioned, that even in developed countries, not just underdeveloped countries, people are struggling with illiteracy. Why does it happen?
Well, this is an issue of inequality that happens in developed and undeveloped countries. So as you know, the system and the economic system and even the social system that we live nowadays brings many inequalities in society, and this makes that people don't get the opportunities of education in the same level as others. So this issue of inequality doesn't just happen to undeveloped countries, which are already in an inequality in terms of the developed ones, but also like in the developed countries, there are communities that are more vulnerable, like refugees, like students that are at high risk of disengagement in schools, or students who, I mean, like indigenous communities, and like immigrants, or like also people who live in rural areas, who don't have access, the same access and the same opportunities of education. And sometimes the system doesn't provide the enough, like all the tools and strategies to reach those communities. And yes, we were definitely surprised to see that this is happening, because like I'm from Colombia, and then when I traveled here to Australia, I realized that it was also an issue here, like especially for indigenous communities, that they are also, there are high rates of illiteracy, um, either in their local languages and foreign language, or I mean the second language, which is English. So the same, it's happening in other countries like United States, or um, like we have recently experiences also in the UK, uh, of inequalities.
Thank you for sharing that, Nicola and Amanda. I just want to ask you guys, like, since you guys have been in Australia for a very, very long time, um, how was the experience with witnessing illiteracy happening? Have you guys experienced that before? Maybe joining in communities, or maybe some projects within your society. Could you share some
Yeah,
experiences?
yeah, so before World Literacy Foundation, I was actually working at a migrant center. So we were helping a lot of newly migrants that have come in, or refugees that have come in like in the last 5 years. And um, it was a big issue with a lot of children that they could go to school, but they were struggling to learn with the new systems, with the new language. So we tried to provide tuitions and caseworker supports for them. But yeah, so they can come here thinking it's a developed country, education system's good, but there are parts of the system that don't really support certain groups of people as much. So I think Maria was talking about inequality, and I think that's a huge part of it. So yeah, I think it'll be cool if there were more systems put in place to support people like that. And I think part of what we do here is to try to identify gaps. Like, for example, in Colombia and Africa, we are doing our Sunbooks and a Dingo app project. So we provide technology to them so the kids can learn through the technology. And yeah, so we try to find gaps like that where the education doesn't meet those needs. And yeah, so along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, I think following from what Amanda was saying, working or having volunteered at Rotary, I was also able to work alongside migrants and refugees who just came not even like a year in. And, you know, because they've suffered through homelessness half the time or domestic violence, there are services here in Australia, but very few. I think there's a missing link as to how they can access those services. So even if we did have the services, what use would it be if that link was missing for them to access it, if that makes sense? So I think that's something that should be worked on within the communities and also within government as well. But I think that was like the biggest one that I've experienced. So yeah, Rotary.
Wow, thank you so much, guys. So moving on to my next question. From what I have learned, I found that the organization's mission is to eradicate illiteracy globally, regardless of geographic location by 2040. That's only another 19 years. If this happens, it would be a huge achievement for humanity worldwide. I'm curious to know, what are the challenges that the organization is struggling with to achieve this mission?
I think one of the main challenges is awareness of the situation. Like when you are not aware, you don't know that much about what's happening, and I will refer to awareness in terms of knowledge and also actions that you can do. Um, Not only about like reflecting on that, but also like what else and what from my own capacities and my own possibilities I can help. So I think like this is one of the challenges, to inform and to make people aware that this is an issue that is happening and that we need to work together to overcome it. So like we definitely need to work on that aspect, and we encourage you to help us on spreading the word that this is happening. And if like there were like different research that there's a research that the organization developed some years ago, and that was regarding literacy and poverty. So it was about the connection between literacy and poverty and inequality, and how like people who are illiterate, like they are more likely to stay in the cycle of poverty, and that can reproduce easily. So it's something that really we really need to be aware and work on that so hard.
Yeah. I think it's well with the pandemic. I know in certain countries, there's a lot of restrictions where maybe, especially in like Australia, helping with those projects, it's hard to deliver programs in person. So trying to find new ways to adapt to engage with the audience and the children, trying to find ways to be able to still resource them during this time where we're facing restrictions. So I think as well, the ambassador program was very essential in this time in the sense that in communities we can't reach, we managed to get other people to be trained up and advocate for our cause in like in their own communities. So I think, yeah, one of the challenges was definitely that's recent was definitely the restrictions around the pandemic.
Yeah, I think just to follow up as well with that, I think we need to also just keep raising awareness in terms of girls' education. That's still an issue happening today with child marriages. So it's a cultural factor that we can't necessarily change, but we can definitely raise awareness towards so that we can decrease the illiteracy rates among that group. And I think also there's still preference of work over education in some countries that we're also trying to raise awareness towards, because you can work and then not do education, but in the end to have a successful employment in the future, you'd also want to be educated for that. So yeah.
Yeah, that was so insightful. Thank you so much. So moving on, the motto of the World Life Literacy Program is changing lives through literacy to end the cycle of poverty. Since you guys are a part of the organization, how has WLF fulfilled this motto since it was established?
um, well, we have different experiences, and I would like to refer to the one in Uganda. And in this specific context, and I had the opportunity to travel there with the organization 2 years ago, like well, actually before the pandemic. And it was like very, I was like very shocked by the level of poverty that I saw on some of the communities. Like no, like I mean, the rural communities actually have some. I mean, they have the lands and they can grow their food and do things with that. So I would say that that's another. They live in their cultures and it's different. But I also see like specifically in the cities and in the outskirts of the cities, like a lot of poverty. And like programs like go to the communities, and programs that are working on involving children from very early ages can definitely change the lives of the kids. And not only just because they're gonna learn to read and write, but they because they will see that someone cares, that someone is trying to do something. And this also opens new perspectives in their minds and see like, oh, I can do this or that. So we have been connecting these children to children from different countries, and writing stories and reading stories that can empower them and can show them that things can be different. And I think that starts from that, like changing the imaginary of these communities, that things can be different.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah. Anyone?
Yeah. So I guess like that was really good, Maria. I think in terms of like we have a program called ROOP, so Reading Out of Poverty. I think that one changes the lives through literacy because like Amanda was saying that it targets early literacy, and I think because we're targeting groups that are more vulnerable in Australia and communities that are, you know, need an extra lending hand in terms of helping out with the literacy of their children and just having that support group. It's also really good. I think another part of it is having books that are also written in different languages also kind of combats that, I guess, like inequality in a sense that they can also understand better. So I think that's kind of like where I'm trying to go about that. But yeah.
And I think with that as well, early intervention, because studies have shown that if you address it early, if you have a strong foundation in your early childhood, you're more likely to be set up for success in the future, not only your academic career, but even for your employment, and it sets a child up well. So I think that's important. And also we try to get parents involved, because often parents that are less aware about it, their children are more likely to follow in their footsteps if they're not educated, because they're more likely to prioritize work before education, or they have lower expectations in regarding to schooling and that kind of stuff. So we want to stop this cycle of disadvantage, and to keep empowering them and making sure it's long term and sustainable. Yeah.
Thank you. So my next question is pretty opinionated. There are some people who believe that education can really shape a person into a perfectly mature thinking individual. What are your thoughts on this? Does education reflect on a person's behavior? Maria, would you like to go first, followed by Nicola and Amanda?
Sure. Yes, I think education definitely supports and changes the behaviors, and not only the behaviors, but the way that you dream, the way that you relate to the others, and like the imaginaries that you build on your life. So like what you are illiterate, sorry, when you are literate, you have like the opportunity to uh, bring to your life different type of resources that are not only visual. Like I'm talking about literacy in terms of reading and writing, because like literacy can be seen in multiple ways. But when you get the chance to read and write, you are able to open a world of words that have been expressed by others, and this brings new imaginaries and new ideas to your mind. And definitely this will also influence your behaviors and the way that you see things. And also when you develop the writing skills, even from very early ages, you are also able to express your ideas, and this is also a way to transform the world. So we have some experiences of children writing stories in our programs, and they have been doing that. Like this is changing, like for example, their perspectives on the environment, or the perspectives on some global issues. So as they read, they get some more information, more ideas, share, and then they are also able to change their behaviors through that.
Yeah. Really good. I think, yes, it does, because first, having education can change your behavior for a positive way, because people who don't have access to education and who are more illiterate are actually have a higher chance of having crime-related behaviors. as well as that, not having education and being illiterate, you are also, I guess, preventing yourself from having better health, so health behaviors. So, you know, they're more prone to probably do smoking because they're not aware of, you know, the side effects of cancer, etc., like that. So in a way, education is definitely, you know, actually education is a huge factor to your behaviors. So yeah, in a big way, yeah.
It does contribute.
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously there's certain things that can be taught with education, like having a loving character or being kind. But I think definitely, as Maria said, if you're illiterate, you have more opportunities to maybe explore information and make more informed decisions. And yeah, and I actually had something interesting from a previous event I attended that saying that a lot of them were stuck in their old ways just because they weren't able to like they were so stuck in their own world and they weren't able to explore other areas of information, that they were stuck in their own mindsets and they didn't want to move on and try to, you know, be open to new things or things advancing. So I think that's a huge factor, not being able to explore the wider things out there because you can't, you know, it's hard to research if you're not literate.
Yeah, thanks. It's very interesting. I'm also curious to know how many countries are in assistance of the organization support.
Yeah, I think there are around 10 countries. So we do work in Australia, the USA, UK, and Colombia. I think in Africa we do 5 countries, if I'm right, Maria. What countries? I think Guyana, South Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, and what was the last one?
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Yeah. So we do around 10 countries. In Australia, UK and the US, we mainly do stuff like book deliveries, Christmas events, so gift kids in poverty books for Christmas. We do pop-up libraries where children can, we set pop-up libraries in a lot of local areas and they can just pick a book up, they can bring it home if they want. We do read aloud sessions and yeah, and I think for Colombia and Africa, we do we try to include EdTech in our program. So we let the children use tablets where they can access hundreds of books and hundreds of games and activities in their own language and in English. So we also they don't need internet or yeah, so that kids who can't have the internet, they can access these books as well. So if anyone wants to add on.
You've covered everything.
That's amazing. So I'm guessing the kids are like really highly encouraged by all of these events and the projects that you guys are doing. It's so amazing. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Besides that, I also would like to know why can't these countries support their citizens by providing better education to eliminate illiteracy? You can. It's not a factual question. It's opinionated. So, share your thoughts if you will.
I
You
think.
mean like why the country? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you can go first.
So you mean like why the countries are not supporting their own citizens? That's what you mean? Okay. So there are many different things and factors that influence that. I think they are supporting them in different ways. But sometimes the resources or the things that they're doing are not enough. Like, for instance, in Africa, in most of the countries, um, there are too many kids in one classroom, and there can be like 90 kids in one classroom. So the government, these are public schools, and the government is doing, they are providing education, but we have to ask, what is the quality of that education? And if it's that enough, but it seems that it's not. And unfortunately, the governments and the countries, in many situations, there are a lot of there is a lot of corruption, like in the case of Colombia, Uganda, and like the resources are not going where they are supposed to go. and or in some cases the governments prioritize the fundings for other projects, and that's when the NGOs are like working on providing and working with the communities for getting more resources. But I think something key on that is like it's relevant to empower the communities and the citizens to understand their rights, so they are also able to advocate for that, and in a way that we can develop more community approach models in which we are not taking the responsibility from the governments, but we are working together to overcome the problems.
Yeah.
I think that was really well said. I think just to add on, yeah, governments, some, I wouldn't say all, are doing the best that they can to eradicate illiteracy within their countries and communities. But I reckon, yeah, just working in a collaborative effort. We're not trying to like overtake or anything like that, because we're all trying to aim for the same goal. I think also now everyone has been using social media and stuff to promote literacy and education. So I think that's a really big one that we can all use globally. So that shouldn't stop us from reaching our mission and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they summed it up pretty well. Sometimes education is not with political instability, education is not the priority of the government. Sometimes the priorities are kind of, questionable. And yeah, and I think as well, sometimes the people aren't supported to get out of their difficult living situations, such as poverty, and so they might have other pressing issues like putting food on the table or surviving. So obviously, education's not on their front on the list at the moment. So I think it's definitely important to advocate and keep supporting these people. I think a really good point of advocacy as well. If people don't know their rights and don't know what they should have, they're just going to continue living like this and doing nothing about it. So I think that in terms of advocacy, that's a really huge part of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Thank you for that. So how many literacy programs does the World Literacy Foundation have? Nicola or Amanda, you guys could share your input on this.
I think we have
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think on the top of my head. So we've got Rup. Oh, so did you mean like we've got like book deliveries as well in terms of the literacy programs? Was that kind of the question?
Any of the programs that the NGO has done recently or like throughout the years that has really like sparked. Yeah.
I think it's a good way if we, I think, split it up in the kind of the regions we work in. So in terms of Australia, we have something called Reading Out of Poverty. So that's mainly, we do stuff like book deliveries, like I mentioned, and we provide parents and their children with literacy packs and multilingual resources. We do a Christmas event as well, where we donate books as gifts to children who are living in poverty. And I think it's pretty similar like what we do in UK and US. So we have UK Reads and we have USA Reads. We have one in Colombia, and I think the program's called Aprende Leyendo. And yeah, so over there we have an app that we're developing called Dingo app. So that's where children come for reading groups and they can access multilingual books, bilingual books, and e-games to improve their skills. And a lot of times we deliver these programs in remote areas where they're less likely to they have limited access to technology, the internet. And I think, yeah, some books as well is similar. We provide schools and reading groups with tablets where there's hundreds of games and digital activities that children can read and play games so that they can improve their literacy skills. And with those projects, we also have to train teachers how to use them. We yeah, so we just provide these resources to these kids. If, I don't know if Maria wants to expand more on Sunbooks, if you like to.
Well, you're right. We have different types of programs, and in some books we have like different strategies. I would say like one is with the tablets and the technologies, and also like the literacy program with the parents and grandparents. So it's like an intergenerational program, and also the pen pal project, in which we are using letters sent by kids in the UK to children in Uganda, and they are sharing, and also in Nigeria. So they are sharing the letters. And so it's writing for specific purposes. And also we have a program which is connecting schools. So I have been like going to some schools here in Australia and raising awareness with the kids here about illiteracy, and also connecting and they have been writing stories for kids in Africa as well. So it's another program, and I would say strategies within the program.
And I think one we forgot to mention is International Literacy Day. So we run a lot of events regarding literacy, raising awareness for literacy, and for ambassadors, we prepared as well a social media campaign where we provide them social media kits where they can post and they can learn how to, we equip them so that they can learn how to advocate and raise awareness about for literacy on this day. So that was done on the 8th of September this year, and we've done it for consecutive years as well. So
That is so amazing. Thank you. Nicola, do you have anything to share if you want to? Miranda and Maria summed it up.
Yeah, they summed it up. I think also we've worked on just trying to spread more literacy awareness. So we also created TikTok challenges, a challenge called, it was a hashtag WLF challenge. So all they had to do was do the alphabet while skipping. I'm not sure if you were able to see that video, but yeah, there was a few people globally that took part in that. So as much as possible, we're trying to, be up to date as well with our social media, just so that we can push literacy awareness as much as we can. Yeah.
That's so great. Thank you. So besides that, why do you think education is important? This is a personal question. Maybe we could go with Nicola, Amanda, and then Maria.
So basically, as I've been saying today, I think education is pretty important in terms of your whole life, really, in terms of your health, social, and economically thinking, because having education, it's a pattern that helps you improve and gain employment, also increasing healthy behaviors, and also being able to have a healthier lifestyle as you get older, and also pass that on to your next generations. I think back in the day, like people who didn't want to have an education, it kind of caused a ripple effect to their children and so on, because I guess they realized that they thought that it wasn't an important aspect of their life, because obviously, in their circumstance, maybe work is more preferable because they're dealing with poverty at the moment. But I think now it's kind of changed in this day and age, because to escape from poverty, education is a huge factor for that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think apart from kind of the more obvious thing like education, no income, and then no job, I think there's a lot more greater impacts in terms of society as well. I think so illiteracy will have huge costs on society in terms of welfare. You need to pay people who need welfare. You need to pay for programs that the government needs to pay for programs that to help people who can't like social programs, because people can't have access to resources due to lack of education. So this overall will affect the productivity, even the tax revenue of the whole government. I think this leads to maybe a slower economic growth as well, and that means for the society, it will take a longer time for them to develop as well socially. So it's kind of just a cycle of things that keeps going. And we did mention as well, it was really important for education to get certain generations out of a cycle of disadvantage, and that if we do address that problem, there's going to be a lot more people throughout now and the future who would be in a much better place in terms of their social
Yes.
situation, the economic situation, even the health situation. And I think as education is important just because it makes you miss out on a lot of opportunities and life skills. I mean, if you can't read or write, you can't, it's hard to fill in a job application. It's hard to read a label. It's hard to read documents. So it's really important. Like, you will miss out on a lot of just opportunities around.
Thank you. Well, from my perspective, education is also important. I definitely agree with what Amanda and Nicola say. And also I will say, like, education is important for human development, and I see it as a human right. It's part of the things that you need for living, like eating or health or any other basic need that you as human being need, and should be part of inherent to you. Like, it's something that it's part of every human being, and it's the way that you can develop you can develop as a person and learn to serve the community. So it has like multiple purposes, like personal purposes and also community purposes. That's why, like, in the way that people get more educated, we will have a better understanding of ourselves and the others, and how we can help each other for the betterment.
Thank you so much. Those were really amazing perspectives. So moving on to my next question. If you guys know about this, then answer it. How many more regions does WLF aim to support in the near future? And where is that, if you guys know?
Yeah, like in some books we have target different countries in Africa. Especially, like, we have been running some webinars and social sessions in order to involve more and more countries. So at the moment we have some like a potential partner in Ghana, and our idea is to keep growing the community and the countries in which we can develop the project, and especially developing different strategies, because before we were just like, it was like a challenge to send the tablets, to take the tablets to the places, because we have to travel with them from here, from Australia to there, and it was quite expensive. But after the pandemic, we find a way to send the tablets directly and install the program from there. So I guess this has helped us to bring new goals to implementation in different places. And of course, in the near future, we also would like to move to other regions in Asia, because I think, well, actually, we don't have any program in Asia, but I was able to participate in a conference in Thailand 2 years ago. And it was a UNESCO conference for education. And in here, I also learned that there is a huge gap in terms of illiteracy in some countries. So definitely would be something very interesting to do, to learn and also to connect communities in Africa and Asia and South America. That would be something beautiful to see in the near future.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, because coordinating the ambassador program, it was important for us to try to reach as many people from as many countries as we can when trying to recruit volunteers, I guess, to join us as ambassadors, through all the social media platforms, Facebook groups, trying to reach as many countries as possible so that there can be as many literacy projects and advocacy in as many countries as we can. I think last year we were able to reach ambassadors from over 140 countries, and this year 120. So we hope to keep it widespread, that everyone can join, and just making sure that these opportunities do reach as many people as we can in as many regions as we can, so that our message can keep spreading across multiple regions.
Yeah, I think nothing really much to add, but yeah, I think just to follow with Amanda, yeah, as we tried with the ambassador program, we did try to promote so that each region at least has an ambassador, just so that they can have a project and an advocacy activity present, so that we can spread the mission of World Literacy Foundation, and also just to increase the knowledge of the importance of education and literacy. Yeah.
Nicola, I think if I recall, during our last talk together, you did mention that if this pandemic didn't take place, you would have gone to one of the countries to like help out and be a part of the organization, right?
Yeah. So it was actually Amanda and I, because we go to the same university, we did talk about, we really heavily considered going to another country for our placement if COVID didn't happen. But yeah, we wanted to go to the Philippines and try out in an NGO there. It would have been a different initiative, or it could have been the same. We didn't really know which one yet, because the plan didn't push through. But if ever in the future, I think that's something that I'm really keen to do, and hopefully with Amanda as well. So yeah.
That's so amazing. Great. So my next question is, how does literacy play a role in ending discrimination against status quo and gender bias? We could start off with Maria, followed by Amanda and Nicola.
Well, I think like in terms of discrimination, it's a huge topic, and it's something that uh, we are aware of that. And in Africa, like for example, like because of culture, there is a lot of machismo, machismo, and like I mean, like in general, like communities before thought that it was not necessary that girls study, but this has been changing through time, and now like you can see more girls like and boys studying together, and but still there are some cultural behaviors that you like I can perceive when I went there, like this is something that it's about gender and it's causing discrimination. So I think like one of the ways that we have been addressing that is like by raising awareness through literacy, like through the books that we produce, like creating stories about gender and how girls and boys can do the same things and why is that important. I have a very nice example of some children in Uganda in a very rural community writing a story about what girls and boys can do. So they were saying like they both can play soccer, they both can help on the home chores, because it's like usually people think like just the girls would do the home chores. So it was like the children raising that from their voices, like those ideas of like boys and girls can do those things, and other children were enjoying these stories. So in terms of gender and in terms of inequalities, I think it's through literacy we can do many things, and one of those is raising awareness of different global issues, which is like gender inequality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does shift the perspective in their head. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think before Ambassador Program, I worked on the Dingo app for Colombia, which is similar to the one in Africa. Definitely, we try to develop meaningful content. We try to incorporate other sustainable development values, and such as gender equality, even children's rights, so that so that when they read these contents, hopefully will develop a healthy mindset in their brain. really raise awareness since a young age. And yeah, I think it's slowly getting there in terms of gender, girls getting more involved in school. But yeah, I think definitely to keep pushing and keep promoting so that we can keep pushing that gender equality. And also, I think in terms of inequality, we definitely in Australia try to provide multilingual resources for parents and free reading groups and free books so that they can foster healthy, literacy environment in their homes, and also trying to help them if they ask for help in terms of linking them to the community. Like Nicola was saying, sometimes a link is missing where they don't know where they can find the help. So definitely we are happy to be a body to, give them that advice and do that. And I think in Australia and UK, we also have US, so we also have programs that target indigenous groups. So I think in Australia we have an Indigenous app where we allow them to access resources that's culturally curated to them.
That's great. Thank you.
And I think I'm super fortunate. Amanda and I have been writing blog articles for WLF. So recently, last week actually, or the week before, I was able to write an article that will be published soon on the importance of girls' education. So trying to combat the whole gender inequality scenario in terms of access to education. So that was a really huge factor because we have the International Day of the Girl Child coming up for October 11th. So that's also a great global campaign that's been happening, and we also promote that at WLF this year that Amanda and I have been working on, just so that everyone has that knowledge, to at least spread awareness and also promote girls' education, whether or not you are a girl or if you're a boy, it doesn't matter because it's a human right. So that shouldn't stop people based on their gender from accessing it. So yeah.
That's so brilliant. Thank you. So I think this next question is for all of you guys, depending on your own opinion and experience. So what do you think are the most important skills of literacy and advocacy?
That's a very interesting question. Like in terms of skills, I would say like it's the way that you are able to understand and reflect and also others' ideas and produce your own ideas as well. So it's this critical reading and critical writing as well, as you are aware to have like a own understanding and like understanding the context and understanding the situations in which this different text is produced, and how also you can even transform what is said, or like given your voice and your perspective on those things that can, like, maybe you don't agree, but you would say like, okay, maybe from my point of view is this and that. So as a summary, like one of the important skills would be like critical thinking, critical development, and the same is for advocacy, because if people develop this skill, like they will be able to work for their own rights and for the rights of the others.
Yeah. Before Nicola and Amanda answers the question, I apologize. I think I said it wrongly. It was supposed to be, what do you think are the most important skills of a literacy advocate? I think I said something of skills of literacy and advocacy earlier. Sorry, but it was the right answer, Maria. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
I think leadership skills is a huge one, because being a knowledgeable, a wise, and a critical thinker as a leader, as what Maria was saying, they're all key factors in order to provide a powerful advocacy on whatever initiative or whatever motto you're trying to go for. So for literacy, those are really key skills to have in order to push your like what you want to achieve. So, you know, not having that solid knowledge and being that, you know, leader, how else can you be able to promote that in the community that you're trying to reach? So I think that's a really key skill to work on and, you know, be proud of to be. So like as we're training ambassadors now, we already know how great of leaders they are and you are to eradicating illiteracy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, being able to communicate the message tailored to the audience is really important. There's no point trying to say something really important, but you put really complex language and no one can understand. They can't act. No one can act on that. They won't want to hear it even. I think one thing important about advocacy is being able to mobilize others and build capacity and build power behind that message. It's good that if I go out and promote the message of literacy, but it's even better if I can impart those skills to the people I'm trying to reach the message to, and so that they can continue to do as well, and to keep building capacity and building power behind why is literacy so important. And I think as well, like critical thinking, being able to deeply understand really what you're fighting for, and I think that not only helps you be able to answer people's questions, but it really sharpens your passion if you really understand why you're doing the things you're doing.
True. Thank you. So my next question is pretty interesting. Who and how were you influenced by this person to be so passionate about what you do for the community today? We could start off with Maria, followed by Amanda and Nicola.
So you mean like who influenced all these ideas?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have I would say many people have influenced my desire to work for literacy and education, and especially like in Colombia. Back in Colombia, I have incredible teachers who were very willing to support communities, and they have this sense of working for people who are in a more vulnerable situation. And at that stage, I just really feel connected to that discourse. And there is an special author that I really like, who is Paulo Freide, and he's a researcher from Brazil. And he talks about the pedagogy of the oppressed. And this is education for communities who are in a vulnerable position. But he talks about like the power of the communities to read and to write, for empower themselves and to break oppression. So it's a very interesting perspective of education. And I think like in South America, like many teachers in public education are influenced by this author, because it's like part of our context and part of the understanding that we need in order to change the dominant system in which we live nowadays.
Wow, thank you. That's so interesting. Nicola, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you.
I think, yeah, so working alongside kids at a very, like from the ages of 5 and onwards, I guess you could really see how much they can learn at a young age. So being a part of World Literacy Foundation, you know that by doing what you're doing, you're able to promote early literacy. And, you know, as we were saying before, that also helps in the future. Also, I think a major influence is like visiting the Philippines. I can see how many people don't have the opportunities that we have here in Australia. You know, having done schooling here all my life, I never realized how fortunate I really am until I visited those communities who don't have like we have an interactive whiteboard. That's kind of what I grew up with having ever since primary school. But going back to the Philippines and seeing the schooling there, they're very, olden generation style things. Like our books, we have it on our laptops now. We in the Phils, it's back, by books. They don't have the resources. They don't have the funding to even buy those books. So I think that was a really key influence. Also, like with pencils, for example, again, I would have a stash of stationery here. Back in the Philippines, they're still using the same pencil, and it's probably like this small of a, you can't really think that small already, and they're still using it. So I think being able to be a part of WLF, I guess that's a key influence for what I can do in the community and also on a global scale. So hopefully in the future we can target more countries who are also going through that same experience that I've seen that they went through.
Yeah, thank you. Amanda, how about you?
Yeah, in my situation, I think I was very fortunate at a young age. I had a lot of community and family showing me compassion, showing me love, showing me generosity. I think it's the greatest thing I could experience, and it's such a beautiful thing to be able to give it back, I guess, to give back what I've received. And I think growing up as well, my parents were very involved and getting me involved in a lot of volunteer work. So naturally, I wanted to do something related to the social sector. And so I actually wasn't too sure what I wanted to study even after high school, but I decided, okay, something along those lines. Maybe public health could be a good thing, and it was so much more different to what I thought it was. And I think it really opened my mind up. I thought really simply about helping people. Like, I just need to give them this. I just need to show them some love. But after studying what I'm studying, it opened up my perspective, and knowing what impact certain work can actually do, and knowing how I could even help others through other means on a bigger scale, rather than just being like, I'll give you some like resources. Finding ways out to be able to really build capacity behind my work, and try to alleviate people's situation through different strategies. And it was exciting to think about, like learning how to using a really old computer for so long, but finally I got a new setup that can do so much more. It's like an upgrade in my mindset of how I could put interventions in to change people's lives, I guess. So yeah, for me, it was a combination of people in my lives and the skills and knowledge I've acquired throughout my studies, I guess.
That's so heartwarming, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to my next question. What book would you suggest people to read who would change their perspectives on the importance of education? Give it a thought.
I'm thinking, well, I will suggest this book from Paulo Freide, the author that I just mentioned, and it's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It's not that long, and it's written in simple language, and it talks about like the some specific cases. It shows some specific cases in Brazil, and the importance of education for people who are at risk, or people who are in disadvantages. Yeah, I'm thinking about literature in general, like more type of entertainment literature. But just let me think about it, and I will go back to you because I'm still thinking.
Sure.
To be honest, sorry. You can go.
I'm trying just to think of one.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm honestly not sure about this question. I don't have anything directly in my mind that I can remember. So
Why not a book that inspired you? I think that's easier.
What was that book? They made a movie out of it.
There's a lot.
There's if I give you a brief overview, you might understand, you might know what the book was. It was about like a teacher who it was in America, and it was about a teacher who
The Help?
No.
The Help?
No, I don't know. It was like she went to America and she went to a public school, like she was put there, and then they all wrote letters. Pardon?
I think it was Freedom Writers. I think.
Yeah, that one.
Like that.
That was such
Yeah.
a good, I also watched the movie recently, and like it was so touching because now looking at the students that she had grown up in this generation, it's interesting to see like how much teachers make a huge impact to students. A lot of teachers, I think in the movie when I watched it, like you can see that a lot of teachers gave up on them
Yep.
because of the social status and like what kind of school it was. Highly recommend it. Reading the book or watching the movie. It's really insightful because you can just see how much one person can impact the whole classroom and also like spread a ripple effect. So yeah.
Yeah, then honestly, I didn't read the book, but I watched the movie, and to know that it was based on a true story, I was like, wow, the teacher who was in the movie she's amazing because she really believed in her students, and she really tried everything she could to like inspire her students to focus on their education and their future, and yeah, it was so amazing. That's true, Nicola. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Amanda?
Haven't thought of it yet.
No worries, no worries. We can come back to that later. So my next question is, what has been your most memorable moment for you being in the position you're in?
For me, it was when I realized like the project was really growing a lot, even during the pandemic. And when we got some grants for the project in Nigeria and Kenya. Because when I started being the program manager, we were just in one small town in Uganda. But then I start seeing like with the support of many people and uh, a team that we were building in the World Literacy Foundation, we were able to reach more places. So seeing like people and governments and different founders believe in us, it was like the most beautiful moment to see like these resources were getting to the children in the communities that I visited before. So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
I think being coding the ambassador program, definitely the biggest thing was I was so surprised the amazing work that the ambassadors are doing, in the sense that a lot of them, they have their own jobs, they have their own work, they have their own studies, but they full on run programs that look like run by an organization by themselves because of their passion to just promote literacy and provide resources to those who need them in the community. I think looking at those stories, I'm so amazed. Yeah, I think those stories are definitely the highlights of my days when I'm doing my work and reading through them.
Yeah. Just like that. Like sometimes they all have their own like foundations themselves, or organizations. So that's something that Amanda and I, are also learning from as newly program coordinators. So we learn a lot from ambassadors as well. And also when we did the Dingo app, we were able to get a video from the students in Colombia. I think that was something that was really touching. At the end of our placement, we were able to get a thank you, and them holding the tablets with the app that we've created. So I think that's a really memorable experience that I've had being at WLF.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That's really heart touching. My next question is directed to Maria. You did mention about global citizenship education. I'd like to know more about it. Could you explain? Could you explain about it more thoroughly?
Sure. So global citizen education means an education in which we challenge the way that things are right now, and we focus on the issues that are happening around the world, like we share as human beings. For example, the environmental issues, the pandemic, for example, some health issues or some violence or inequalities. So mainly it's about engaging with these topics and understanding that these issues are not only happening in one place, but are all around the world and affect us in different ways. Uh, Independently if we have a different position, economic position, or gender, or age, or whatever, it actually affects us all. So a global citizen education expects like people are able to understand the roots of the causes that are causing these problems. So it means that you would need really to engage and understand and read and connect with people, and also with your own local context to understand what's happening and how this connects to the global context. Um, and the citizen part, or the global citizen part, means that imaginary that you are part of this world, and you have an important role to do. So if we talk about citizens, we will say, oh, maybe citizen from Australia, citizen from Colombia, citizen from Uganda, but actually global citizen, it's not a passport. Like you will not receive a passport of global citizen, but it's more the imaginary that we are a citizen of this world and we have to work. This is the only world we have. So we have to work to take care of it, or to really work on the issues that are affecting us. Mm.
That's so interesting. Thank you. When we spoke, you also mentioned about intergenerational programs. Could you give us more insights on what is it about?
Sure. So with the intergenerational program, what we aim is to involve parents and grandparents in the communities, because in many cases we realized that they were also illiterate. So it is very hard for children to get to have real practice at home when their parents are illiterate. Research has shown that when kids are able to have a context or a social capital within their own family in which they can explore and they can learn by every day, when their parents are reading to them, or because they are using specific words and vocabulary, so they are learning day by day. But when this is missing, they have less chances to learn. And so this intergenerational program has the purpose of uh, bringing education also to parents and grandparents who can actually support and learn together at home, um, which will have multiple benefits for the children and for the families as well.
That's so amazing. Thanks.
Sure.
Maria, you're the program manager of Sunbooks. So, to whoever is watching our discussion today, would you like to share anything about Sunbooks to the audience?
Yes, I would like to share like our opportunities for volunteering and opportunities for partnership. So on the website we have different links and different opportunities that you can explore. I would like to invite everyone to our webinars, so you can also be part of this growing community. And we yeah, definitely would like to hear more about you, and what are your expectations, and in which community are you coming from, and what do you expect to do for them and with them.
So amazing. Thank you so much. My next questions are directed to Nicola and Amanda. Talk to me more about the WLF Ambassador Program.
Yeah, so the WLF Ambassador Program is basically a 5-month online program where we have modules. So you have 5 modules that need to be completed, and by the end of the program, they're able to carry out their own advocacy activity or fundraising activity. So these modules are basically stepping stones and being able to teach our ambassadors the basics of being an ambassador and also being a great advocate, as I was saying before. So yeah, being able to have those skills in each module and also carrying out their own activities at the end. So it's a great step to being a good global citizen, and also being able to just be that voice in your community. So I think that's something that I honestly recommend for a lot of people to do. So yeah, that's from my perspective.
Yeah, so yeah, that's really good. And I think our goal is also not to just provide them resources, but as well as mentioning before, we're aiming to mobilize a community to be able to spread our message and spread and contribute to our cause and mission. So I think by training these people up, we can really reach areas that one small organization can't do, but we just really want to mobilize and kind of create like little WLFs everywhere. So the message is being spread, our message being spread all around the world. So that's our goal. And this is a yearly program. So next year we open up in April as well, registrations for the program again. And people are welcome to re-participate. We usually update the content as well. So yeah, so next year registrations will open in April 2022.
I hope whoever's watching this take note, because personally as an ambassador as well, I think I've learned a lot from you guys, and it's been like a really good journey. So yeah. Besides that, we recently had World Literacy Day, and Amanda and Nicola, you guys coordinated an interview with the past ambassadors called "The Power of Young People to Change the World." I think it's on YouTube. And I found it so impactful because of how dedicated past ambassadors were. And would you mind sharing some success stories from our past ambassadors from WLF?
Yeah, so there's plenty. So from those in the interview, many of them have started their own little non-for-profits, non-government organizations to further the cause of literacy. And I think one thing that really stuck with me, what they said, is often they think they need to get it perfect. They need to plan big before they start, but when they managed to cross that barrier and just do it, it was easier to just start somewhere and just do something. I thought that was really great. And I think, yeah, so that was a thing I found interesting from their interview. And one of our ambassadors also said not to think that you're an aspiring leader, aspiring advocate, but that you are one, and that really makes you cross that mental barrier of how of acting out and acting as an advocate. In terms of success stories, there are many other. I think we have one girl called Andrea Lau and Ryan Brady. They both started their own little organization to provide books and resources to their community as well. I think last year was really great in the sense that during the pandemic, a lot of schools were closed or many children struggled with remote learning. So many people, ambassadors, actually reported organizing online tuition programs or delivering resources from the internet and delivering those to the communities who couldn't access those resources, educational resources. So I think especially in this pandemic, this program is so essential. There's people doing work to fill in the gaps where children can't access education because of school closures. So that was one thing we were really grateful for last year, and even this year. This year, there've already been stories about many people going and providing their own communities with resources as due to school closures and or just due to an overall general lack of resources. If you check out our social media channel handles on Instagram and TikTok, we feature a lot of our stories there of what ambassadors are doing. So yeah, there's heaps of stories. If you guys just follow us there, you can catch up on all of them.
Yeah, I think just to add a little, so interviewing those past ambassadors, I've honestly learned a lot from them. I think the biggest part about it was like how each of them still remained passionate about literacy. So yeah, having their own little organizations, you know, from what they've learned from the ambassador program, as they've said, and also implementing that into their own organizations. I think that's a really great story for them to tell, because that's really inspirational for our upcoming ambassadors this year and also for the future to come. I think they were also like, they were so knowledgeable, but at the same time, they were very wise with the words that they were saying at the interview. So I really recommend for people to watch that, because you'll definitely learn a lot from them. And being at a young age for most of them, it's crazy that even I think Ralph is he's still in high school, but he's definitely accomplished a lot, having his own organizations, doing an audio what is it called, like an audio podcast, a podcast that he has. It was crazy how much he can do and how much they have all done. Again, this year we've also have a lot of ambassador stories, and like Amanda said, stay tuned on our TikTok and social media accounts. There's heaps there, and there's more to come.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. So the session is coming to an end. I have one last question for each of you. If you were to write your own book, what would it be about?
I think I would write a book about participatory research, which is what I'm doing with my thesis, my PhD thesis, and I will connect that to global citizenship education and how, like, working with the communities, instead of researching on the communities, we'll be researching with the communities, and how this approach can help, like, different social issues. Yeah, I think it will be more a research book, like, because I think I have been developing these skills in the last years. But I would like also to write something about literature more for children. But yeah, I think I will start first with research with what I know.
Yeah, I was oh, sorry. I was thinking about this as well recently, and because I love art as well, I was thinking that I'd love to write a children's book and draw it myself. And I would love to just create something really positive, really bright, and things that help children in terms of their values, raising their self-esteem, just positive affirmations for them, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think I would gender equality book for children, so that kids, there's no barriers of what they can be when they get older. I feel like the books that I had as a young child, like, it was all about girls becoming princesses or like doctors and nurses, but I feel like it's a mutual thing that either or can do. So I think that's a book that I would write. Yeah.
So amazing. I would buy all of your books and read them. Yeah. So Amanda, have you thought of an inspirational book?
No, I haven't.
No worries.
I don't know what it's called as well. But I watched something recently on YouTube. So maybe I should look it up and get back to you guys. But it was just a bunch of kids in US, I think, that have been kicked out of school, branded as like hopeless kids that would never get anywhere. And this compassionate teacher just takes them on, and he doesn't only just address issues like, let me teach you math and English and whatever, but he kind of mentors them with life skills and love, compassion, and caters to their needs. So if I look it up, I'll let you guys know. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Though it does sound familiar, it does.
It's a documentary on YouTube, a YouTube series. But I gotta double check what it's called.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So the session has come to an end. I would like to thank Maria, Nicola, and Amanda for sharing their invaluable knowledge in the areas of their expertise with the WLF. I'm sure everyone is grateful that you are able to donate your portion of time, despite having such a hectic schedule. Once again, if all of you could take a look in the chat box, I have sent a link where you can send out your donations to the NGO. Lastly, I would like to ask everyone to turn on their cameras and we can have a short picture session. Let me just end the recording here.